Am I the asshole for refusing to share my inheritance with my dad and brother after discovering a family secret? Stick around for the whole story and then give us your opinion in the comments. Alright, let's dive into this story. My grandma on my dad's side of the family left me my dad's portion of her inheritance, but left him and my brother nothing. For context, me and my brother have never met my granddad. According to my dad, he and his father had a very toxic relationship. After my dad and my mom met, they started dating at university and they had my brother. My parents then got married, which made my granddad stop talking to my dad. A couple of years later, had me, and we've been living happily ever after. After my granddad died, my dad began to spend more time with his mom. We got to also spend more time with her, and we even spent the Christmas holidays at their house. She was this sweet old lady who just loved us so much. Her energy was so electric and contagious. I won't lie when I say that Christmas as a teenager were my most cherished times. Sadly, my grandma passed away last year. After her funeral, I and my two aunties were called to speak to a lawyer. She died with a house worth more than $500,000. For context, she lived near Oxford. And over $200,000 worth of cash and other heirlooms. When we went through the inheritance, the lawyer explained that she divided it into 3 equal parts. It was between her 2 daughters and me, who got my dad's share of the inheritance. She left her son nothing. When my dad found out, he protested and asked how was that possible. But I wasn't too concerned. During the proceedings, my grandma's lawyer, who was in charge of the inheritance, gave me a letter written by her a year ago. In this letter, to be read after her death, she explained that her husband, my granddad, had disowned my dad completely. This is because my dad is not my brother's actual father, and he's a child from a relationship my mom had previously. My dad met my mom when she was pregnant with my brother. My grandparents, my granddad in particular, thought this was extremely weird. He did not approve of this and was vehemently against it. My dad didn't listen and married my mom a year after my brother was born, which prompted my granddad to excommunicate him for good. During the years, my grandma stayed in contact with my dad, but we, my brother and I, did not meet her until after my granddad died. The thing is, neither my brother nor I knew that my dad wasn't his biological father. A day later, my dad called me to discuss the inheritance, but I didn't want to meet him. He doesn't know that I know, and I don't know how to tell him I know. I haven't received any money yet, but based on this, I feel like I will not share it. My family are understandably calling me greedy, but I just don't really trust them anymore. This is already causing heavy division in my family, and now I feel like dropping this news will destroy my family completely. Should I just be truthful about the reasoning? Or what should I do? Ooh, this is a pretty detailed story. I can't wait to read the comments and see what people are telling her. Our first commenter says, "First of all, you aren't the asshole about the inheritance no matter what you decide. Your grandma had a clear reason for what she did, so it's not like there's any funny business that would make her will invalid. Secondly, it sounds like you are struggling with the information your grandma shared, and that's completely fair because it's a lot. I have some thoughts. What your dad did, choosing your mom even though she was already pregnant and raising your brother as his own so well that you never even suspected, that is an amazing act of love. I understand that it pissed off your grandpa, but from my perspective, your dad is a real hero here. Loyal to your mom and loyal to your brother. I would hate it if you came out of this blaming your dad or blaming your brother, neither of whom did anything wrong. I think it's really sweet that your dad and grandma managed to reestablish their relationship after your grandpa died. Should you tell? I don't know. In general, my instinct is that secrets fester. Now that you know this, it's going to be hard for you to hide your strong feelings. Also, keep in mind that everyone in your family knows at this point, except your brother. Raising the topic might be hard, but reread my previous paragraph about what a loyal hero your dad is. He loved your brother because he chose your brother, along with your mother. I kind of feel like your brother deserves to know. Finally, you don't need to decide about the money right away. Your grandma dropped a crazy amount of information on you, and it's completely reasonable for you to want a while to process. You could even tell them that. As a general rule, when you get a big chunk of money, there's no hurry. You can leave it in cash for a while. You can invest it in safe mutual funds. No harm in letting it sit for a year or 2 or 3 while you figure things out. People who are all excited to do something right away typically make bad decisions. Our next commenter says, agreed, not the asshole for the reasons mentioned above. Just in general, the person is spot on that your dad also did nothing wrong here. Our next commenter says, that lie is tiny and easily understood compared to the monstrous actions of the grandparents. Dad led with love and active, generous acceptance and likely lied to spare his chosen child the full fury of his grandparents' ignorant hatred. Our next commenter says, different times. My dad, who's 65, was born out of wedlock and was raised by his aunt, and my gran was packed off to the north with distant relatives. He didn't even know my great aunt wasn't his mom until he signed up for the military at 16. My gran would have been a pariah had she stayed, and I'm from the same area. I remember single moms getting spat on in the street as a kid, and that was the 80s. Wow. I think times have really changed. What do you think? Our next commenter says, but she is 27 and dad is 52, so in that generation, meeting and marrying someone with a child is perfectly normal. The granddad is or was an ignorant a-hole, and the grandma is a slight one for stiffing her son and refusing to acknowledge her step-grandson. Original poster is a bit of an a-hole for not sharing with her father and brother, even though she's under no obligation to do so. Except Dad. Dad raised and loved 2 children, even though his own parents were terrible. Some very intense comments on this one. Our next commenter says, yeah, the dad and brother did nothing wrong. Original poster is being greedy. What a flimsy excuse. Our next commenter says, it's their inheritance. It was left to her. She would not be greedy for not sharing it. I really hate how people act like they are entitled to each other's stuff. Our next commenter says, you don't get the point I was making. The grandma left it to the original poster out of spite. The dad was an upstanding guy. The brother an innocent child. She doesn't have to share anything, but she is using this family secret as her excuse. Give me a break. Our last commenter says, she got an inheritance because he married her mom, because she was pregnant with her brother's baby. She was created because her father is such an awesome guy and the amazing choices he made to turn his back on his family and choose love. She is more like her grandfather than her father. Oh, that one cut deep. What's your thoughts on this topic? Should she share her inheritance? Should she tell her brother that she knows this secret? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification icon so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming stories.